There are weapons that do not need to appear often, but every time they do, they decide the fate of an entire battlefield. Apache belongs to that category. It was not created merely to hit targets, but to return, to be repaired, to be upgraded, and to keep flying for decades. On the other side, the Mi-28 was born with the same question: how to destroy tanks, how to survive under dense firepower. But when wars drag on, when technology gradually becomes outdated, when budgets turn into a burden, only one of those paths proves its true value. And today's story is not just a comparison of two helicopters, but a comparison of two ways a nation thinks about war. When people talk about attack helicopters nicknamed tank killers, the U.S. Army's Apache is always one of the most prominent names, thanks to its superior anti-armor capability. Apache is currently in service with more than 20 countries around the world, confirming its status among modern combat platforms. On the opposite side, the Mi-28 Havoc, one of the main attack helicopters of the Russian military, has demonstrated an important role on the Russia-Ukraine battlefield. The Mi-28's design shares many similarities with Apache, to the point that Western media often describe the Mi-28 as Russia's version of the Apache. In today's content, we will take an in-depth look at Apache, while also comparing the key features of both helicopters to clarify the differences in strategy and military technology between the two powers.
During the Vietnam War, the U.S. military was forced to confront an uncomfortable reality. Armed helicopters could no longer remain simple infantry support platforms. The introduction of the AH-1 Cobra marked a turning point. A tandem cockpit, a narrow fuselage to reduce exposure, twin-shaft turbine engines, a fixed nose cannon, and missile pylons mounted along the sides. Cobra was fast, agile, and lethal for its time. But Vietnam also exposed its limits. Flying low and slow, under dense ground-based air defenses, Cobra revealed a critical weakness. It was designed to strike quickly, not to survive prolonged exposure in contested airspace. After Vietnam, U.S. Army planners began asking a larger question. If the next war is not guerrilla warfare, but a direct confrontation with thousands of Soviet tanks in Europe, what stops them? In 1972, the U.S. Department of Defense launched a program to develop a new generation heavy attack helicopter. This time, the mission was precise. This would not be an upgraded Cobra. The Army demanded a completely new platform, built specifically to destroy tanks, capable of deploying precision anti-armor weapons, able to survive inside dense enemy fire zones. At the time, anti-tank missiles were already powerful, but wire-guided and semi-automatic systems made them unsuitable for high-speed fixed-wing aircraft. Helicopters, with their ability to hover, conceal, and attack from multiple angles, were seen as the ideal solution. In 1976, the AH-64 design by Hughes was selected, not because it looked impressive, but because it matched America's evolving doctrine of modern warfare. Apache was not designed to impress. It was designed to survive and to destroy the heaviest targets on the battlefield. After nearly a decade of testing and refinement, the AH-64 Apache officially entered service in 1986. Around the same time, Hughes was acquired by Boeing, integrating Apache into the broader U.S. strategic weapons ecosystem. From the moment it appeared, Apache sent a clear message. This was no longer a support helicopter. It was an airborne anti-tank weapon built for high-intensity conventional war. From the beginning, Apache was not designed around speed or raw maneuverability. Its core priority was controlled firepower. Unlike Cobra, Apache was built as an integrated weapons system where pilot sensors and weapons function as a single unit. The cockpit follows a stepped configuration. The weapons officer sits in front. The pilot sits higher in the rear with a broader field of view. Both crew members wear helmet-mounted targeting systems. The key feature is this: the weapons officer's head movement is directly linked to the 30mm cannon beneath the fuselage. Simply put, look, and the gun follows. The M2 30mm cannon is not the largest caliber available, but it is optimized for combat efficiency. With a firing rate of nearly 700 rounds per minute and an ammunition load of up to 1,200 rounds, Apache can sustain continuous fire for extended periods. More importantly, the cannon is not meant to penetrate a tank head-on. Its purpose is to exploit weak points, side armor, rear sections, and lightly armored vehicles supporting tank formations. The cannon is only the first layer. Apache's true strength lies in the AGM-114 Hellfire missile. Hellfire represented a shift in battlefield logic. Instead of wire-guided control, it uses laser or semi-active radar guidance. This allows Apache to engage targets from long range, often beyond the effective reach of short-range air defenses. With penetration capability approaching 1,400 millimeters, Hellfire can destroy nearly all modern main battle tanks. To fully exploit this weapon, Apache is equipped with a nose-mounted sensor suite, optical, infrared, and low-light systems. These sensors enable target detection at night, in fog, and under adverse weather conditions. More critically, Apache does not need full visual exposure. Only a small portion of the sensor must clear cover to lock a target and fire. This is why Apache is not designed to charge directly into enemy formations. It is designed to hide, observe, select targets, and strike with precision. In U.S. Army doctrine, Apache is not a heroic aircraft. It is a deliberate, calculated instrument of attrition. Firepower only matters if the platform carrying it survives long enough to use it. This lesson was learned at a high cost during the Vietnam War. At low altitude, helicopters do not face fighter jets. They face machine guns, anti-aircraft fire, and dense infantry weapons. Apache was built specifically to survive in that environment. From its airframe structure, Apache is reinforced to withstand 12.7 millimeters heavy machine gun fire. Critical components, such as fuel tanks, are self-sealing and fire-resistant, designed to prevent catastrophic leaks after impact. The transmission system is another key element. Apache's main gearbox can continue operating for up to 30 minutes, even after total oil loss. This does not allow continued combat, but it provides enough time to disengage, land, and save the crew. In U.S. military doctrine, preserving pilots is as important as preserving aircraft. Apache uses a dual-engine configuration. If one engine is damaged, the other can still sustain flight long enough to escape the threat zone. The cockpit is heavily armored, with bullet-resistant glass capable of stopping large-caliber small arms fire. Seats are designed to absorb impact during hard landings, increasing survival chances during loss of control events. But Apache's survivability is not just about armor. It is about avoiding detection in the first place. Apache has a reduced infrared signature compared to earlier helicopters. Its exhaust gases are cooled before release, lowering vulnerability to heat-seeking missiles. Radar warning receivers and missile warning systems alert the crew to tracking and incoming threats. Apache can then deploy flares, chaff, or evasive maneuvers before a missile closes in. Most importantly, Apache is not designed to loiter. It appears briefly, strikes decisively, and withdraws quickly. Exposure time to enemy fire is kept to an absolute minimum. Apache does not rely on luck. It relies on calculated survivability. On paper, Apache is a powerful helicopter, but war is not graded by brochures. War grades what survives, what can repeat the mission, and what can bring data back home. In 1991, the Gulf War threw Apache into a no-mercy environment. On opening night, it was not sent to perform for the cameras. Apache's job was to unlock the sky.
If you find this content helpful and valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. My name is Hai.
See you next time.